Introduction. To what extent are we defined by others, and to what extent do we define ourselves? This topic is mostly about our identity and what society expects of us. Very much an American literature-filled theme. We are going to see just how authors like Thoreau and Emerson demonstrate the struggle between self-definition and those around us trying to wrap their minds around these ideas and how they impact us and our sense of self. Quote 1.
Thoreau liked the idea of being able to define yourself and not others. He shows this in Walden by saying men feel it is essential that the nation comrades and export ice and talk through the telegraph and ride 30 miles an hour without a doubt, whether they do or do not, but whether we should live like baboons. This quote criticizes how society expects how a man should live a materialistic life and focus on the growth of technology, comparing the lifestyle of that as baboons. The quote supports the idea of having to live a life that is not based on what society thinks.
Do you think there's like an extent to where we can define ourselves like
There's no limit on the way we can define ourselves, but there's a limit of how society can define us. Another quote from Walden. He still backs up that it's better to define yourself than society, saying, "We still live meaningly like ants, though the fables tell us that we are long ago changed into men." The quote talks about how most Americans live their lives constricted, always working and no breaks to enjoy life. The way he says is comparing that lifestyle to ants. This quote helps show how bad it is to depend on society to define you as a person, because the life society makes you live is an endless amount of nothing.
What do you think Thoreau means when he compares people to ants? How does this relate to the way society influences our lives?
He talks about how we are like ants because ants are sort of like meaningless animals trying to follow a certain leader.
Thank you.
In Emerson's Life of Resilience, he also expresses how he thinks it's better to define yourself instead of others defining you. And he does this by saying society is a joint stock company in which the members agree for the better securing of his brand to each shareholder, to surrender the liberty and culture of the eater. This quote talks about how society is a joint stock company because of the way people live. In this quote, he says surrender the liberty and culture of the eater, which means in society people give up their freedom and culture for basic necessities. Society takes away identity that you have by letting them define you.
So what do you think Emerson means by like surrender and liberty and culture? Like how do you feel how society impacts your own sense of identity?
Emerson thinks that society impacts you by taking away your culture because they want you to do one simple thing, which is work.
My quote is from the Count of Pecan. She says, "We have even less control over the stories they tell about us after we're gone." He laughed so hard to hear that his great-grandchildren know him not as a decorated World War I veteran, not as a skilled mechanic for newfangled automobiles, but as a barefoot boy on the reservation. I think this quote trying to explain like that we have more control, like we have more control over our own actions, and we would like to be defined, but like a lot of times people like to like define us in their own way and think about us in a negative way, and just like I think it teaches like the grandchildren about their history and how their family used to live. But this quote shows like amazing things that we can do, but we can be remembered for like one bad thing that we've done or something like that.
I really think that's really interesting. I definitely can relate to that, making mistakes in everyday life, I really like that.
Yeah, like there could be someone who has done a lot of good things.
Yep.
But be remembered for something bad that they've done. Like
Exactly, and that's what what this present day society would think, but not what the people that are already dead think. 'Cause they probably thought something different.
My second quote is from Walden. He says, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to face only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach. And not when I came to die, I discovered that I had not lived." I think this quote is relevant to the panel discussion because it expresses the need to go live life and go do what you want to do, and like just don't care about what others are doing or what others think about you, and just going out there and finding you.
Yeah, finding your self identity. Yep, absolutely.
Are there any more quotes from Thoreau that backs up your way of thinking?
Probably is. I have another quote. The power which resides in him is newer in nature and known, but he knows that what that is which he can do, nor does he know until he has tried. I think this quote is like also relevant to the panel discussion because it explains that like all of us can do something great. We don't know what we can do until we go out there and
Try it.
try it. Yep.
Yep. Do you still think this idea of living is relevant? Hey.
I think so, but I think a lot of people are afraid to go like out of their way and go express themselves and find what they're good at.
My first quote is from Braiding Sweetgrass. Forest scientists describe the generosity of massed fruiting with predator satiation hypothesis. The story seems to go like this. When trees produce more than the squirrels can eat, some will escape predation. Robin Wall Kimmer, Braiding Sweetgrass. This ecological massed fruiting idea explained here in Braiding Sweetgrass describes when trees are put forth a great amount of seeds to overcome predators, some escape. Same with people. At some point, trying to adapt to external pressure by overproducing or overextending themselves just to succeed or to survive.
How do you think the idea of predator satiation connects to human behavior under stress? Is it more like about physical survival or emotional?
Well, I think emotional survival is what fuels the physical survival because depending on how you feel is also how your body is going to want to physically fight that, you know?
Yeah, what other examples can we think of where nature and human responses mirror each other like this?
Well, another quote from Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience is, governments show thus how successfully men can be imposed on, even impose on themselves, for their own advantage, Thoreau 224. Thoreau is saying that people can be tricked or manipulated by governments, but even more interestingly, we trick ourselves into accepting it if it benefits us somehow. He's calling out how easy it is to go along with authority without questioning it, without questioning the ethics. If deep down we know it's not right, it's a push to think critically and not just accept what's convenient for us.
Do you still think people today accept government control just because it seems easier?
Absolutely, and I just feel like, you know, people just go on with whatever people in power say, and, you know, they don't trust the ethics and the what's the word for it? Their position, their authority.
It's like Lumen AI.
Our discussion has been a balance between the influences of others and self-definition. In fact, from the quotes that we look at, one gets the sense of thought of societal pressures are strong. The journey of discovery about ourselves is deeply personal and comes down to finding one's own voice in the rest of the world.